And get our scoreboard up to date. So our first matchup is indeed Yoshi Bowser to go up against Penzo. We haven't seen Penzo around for a very long time in the Challenge Cup, and it's going to be great to see them again. Obviously, Yoshi pretty much involved with every tournament so far, but is yet to be able to break that top three. They're starting to get better and better with how they play. Just not quite able to get there just yet, so we'll see what they can do against Penzo, who obviously is a former top three, made a top three appearance before. But like I said, that hasn't been a thing since the 20s for our cup. So it's been a while since we've seen good old Penzo, and Penzo will be on the left hand side of your screen in the early goings as we get ourselves ready for our 80th installment of the Challenge Cup. Penzo is Lollipop on the left-hand side of your screen, coming in with the Hydra and the Lockjaw. Yoshi is Boyton Bark with the hottest of slaps, and of course, the Seeky as we get ourselves underway. Lollipop with our bouncy, lovely little shenanigans. We know what they can do. Just flex on up with that shield, just wander around and do what they can. But Bite does have Bark, that little handy doggo. Able to throw in that punch unless they get taken down like that, in which case any and all abilities that Bite and Bark does have go away. Penta did get a nice little grab there in the early stages, already getting Yoshi down to halfway up, but does have to be careful. Yoshi is able to fling a slap around, and to be fair, so too is that Toaster, and the rush is going to come out. Unfortunately, nothing from the Seeky on that go, and that is going to be pretty much even Stevens. Neither player getting anything with the rush, but Penzo is going to get the grab and quickly ping Yoshi down onto the cusp of critical. Yoshi just get a wayward hit, make that two wayward hit, that one with the hottest of slaps this time around. And despite Bark going down, Bite does still manage to get a good couple of curved arm hits in here, and Penzo doesn't want to really be taking too many more of those. Finally gets another Hydra hit through, just looking for one more hit of anything will do. The Lockjaw quickly slinging on out of that projectile, a good old fireball, and the Hydra will find its mark and do the damage it needs to put Penzo in front in the early stages. The Lockjaw, one of the more unique arms, just fire out that fireball, then follows in with the rest of the punches. It's going to get it tucked away for the time being. We're going to bring out the boomerang alongside that Hydra, and again, catching Bite as they go for the jump. Bite's abilities are all pretty much condensed into Bark. Bark is a walking trampoline for Bite, and here comes the rush as well. Big time damage coming, does get every bit of it. 430 damage with a combination of the hot slap and the Seeky. The Seeky is a fully automated arm, and the damage it packs with that explosion is just on another level when the rush comes out, and that is a lot of damage that Yoshi needed. Got the block on the rush as well, does get caught with another boomerang hit, but this is very good from Yoshi Bowser so far, keeping that pressure onto Penzo. Yes, they can slip and slide around. That bouncy nature of Lola does make it quite hard to get through, especially with that shield consistently being up, but Yoshi has done incredibly well with the hot slap, does manage to get another tag, and the Seeky does get themselves a guided hit. One more hit from anything will do it. In fact, they're going to use the rush to make absolutely sure they take a point from Penzo there and tie this up in the early stages. Probably will keep with those two, and Penzo going to go back to the Lockjaw. So the boomerang was working, to be fair, but they're going to switch back to the Lockjaw, keep that all firepower route up, and tries to go for the up close and personal rush, but it doesn't happen. Quickly slides on out, or at least get damage with the arms, but Yoshi's starting to grow in confidence a little bit more. Maybe a bit too much confidence. Oh, and a save! Oh, the save for Bark! Yoshi gets grabbed, but Bark is able to get the punch off, deny Penzo, and allow Yoshi to get themselves a free grab out of that. That was beautiful. Good little doggo. Penzo immediately bops them down, and because he did not appreciate that in the slightest, and quickly gets Yoshi back into critical, has things back under control. That will be rush confirmed, and that will be a KO. I think if anything, that grab probably annoyed Penzo to the point where they went, screw this match. I'm ending this now. I am not pleased with how that went. Penzo will take the first point by 2 points to 1 in the end. A good showing so far from both sides of the field. Yoshi Bowser had a bit of a rough start, but that second point was wonderfully done. Yes, they gave up the rush advantage to make sure that they tied up the match, which I understand from Yoshi's point of view. Yoshi usually doesn't come out of the first round. Like, Yoshi's normally one of our first players eliminated, as bad as that sounds. Yoshi is still a great player. It just so happens that some of the people that they get paired up with consistently are just... They seem to always rock in with a lot of attack power. And Yoshi has been improving time and time and time again. I mean, you saw it there. Managed to take a point off of Penzo. Not quite able to get the full game point. But now we go to VoD. And Penzo is going to come in with not one, but 2 boomerangs. Meanwhile, Yoshi coming in with the Megawatt instead of the Siki and gets themselves the grab. And that quickly flings Penzo back down. Nothing that they can do about it. VoD is Lola's home stage. A little bit more twisty and turvy. It's one of our counter pick stages. The other one being Ninja College. I'll explain the rules of that after this set is done and dusted. As Yoshi quickly picks himself back up off of the feet. I feel like Penzo's going to have a hard... I mean, I can see what they're going for. You can pretty much fling arms across those barriers whilst you can't go through them. The arms absolutely can. But so far, it hasn't quite been working as well as Penzo would like to. The Megawatt, I mean, it can pretty much punch for anything, but that boomerang can get around it. But thankfully for Yoshi, won't take any damage from that rush. Was already on the floor by the time it came out. And Penzo, I think, just flexing a little bit now. Gets the grab as well. Feels like they're under control. Bach, let's get themselves a little wayward hit. But all Penzo needs is one more hit. And they'll absolutely do this. But the rush is going to come out. And quickly deal damage back 180. It's not enough to get them down any further. Yoshi has to be incredibly careful. They've rolled the dice. They've gone all in. And it's not paid out for them. The boomerang is going to find its mark. And that's going to give Penzo set point at this stage. 2 attempts to wrap up this set. We'll see what they can do as the Lockjaw comes back on out. So no double rank for Penzo this time round. And now it's the Yoshi pretty much thought about contesting the double boomerang, switched to double hot slaps, and now they have to deal with the Lockjaw instead of the double rank. And that is going to immediately run through the pair of them. That fireball is just incredibly dangerous. And like I said, the rest of the punch is nothing to slouch at either. Yoshi tries to get the jump, but doesn't get anything of it. To be fair, neither does Penzo, so a full-on stalemate with that rush exchange. But if anything, it keeps it in Penzo's advantage, and that grab will absolutely confirm that. Yoshi on the cusp of critical. Another punch and glove will quickly bounce off of Lola. Penzo actually starting to struggle a little bit here. Yoshi has had some really good reads here on the hot slap, but does get caught by the wayward boomerang, which is going to get them shut down in this corner. A wayward hit from Bach, though, quickly changes things around, and now both find themselves in critical condition. Arm weak on the right-hand side. Yoshi is the closest to a rush here. Could choose to do what they did last time around and try to go for the rush. The arm is down. It's fully broken now, but Bach inadvertently knocked Penzo down. No, Bach took that completely away from Yoshi. Yoshi needs one more hit, if anything, to try and solidify this point. They do get it. Bach very nearly betraying Yoshi Bowser there, but Yoshi does get away with it, does get the point in the end. A little bit too eager to help out there was Bach, and very nearly yoinked that away from Bite, but crucially, that's another good read with the hottest of slaps. If anything, Yoshi's found their corner with this, but the Hydra is going to come back out. So really now, they're going to have to be very careful, and this is going to be a dangerous juggle now. Thankfully, the Lockjaw hit missed, and Bach gets the knockdown as well. But again, the damage has been done. Yoshi already down into critical condition, and Penzo is in full control here. They're pretty much looking for one more hit. Will absolutely do it, and there it is. The double slaps could do nothing against that Hydra, and it just shut Yoshi down in a heartbeat. Penzo win this set by 2-0, but both matches going 2-1. Really good, solid improvement there from Yoshi Bowser. It is unfortunate to see Yoshi again drop down into double elimination in the first matchup, but that's just how it goes. That is just how it be sometimes, but hopefully we'll be able to track Yoshi's progress down in the lower bracket now that we have confirmation that is a 2-0 defeat for Yoshi. Dr. Grits has taken out Slacks by 2-0, And Ghost has been taken out by 2-0 by Gios, who I am very much surprised to hear that. Ghost has been doing incredibly well over the past few cups, making it to the finale a couple cups ago, so to hear them go down in the first round is a shock. I'm surprised to hear that, so interesting to see that all play out the way it did, but there we go. So, it means that our round 2 matches are set up and ready to go. We will have Riffa go up against Penta, Yam will take on Mr. Addle, Replicant will take on Dr. Crits, and Iceman will take on Gios. So it's not a full top 8 appearance, because Gios is seeded 11th, the lowest seed of the competition. I'd love to know what in the world happened in that matchup for that to happen, but that's just how it be. Most of the times the Challenge Cups don't really deviate from the usual top seeds. The top seeds always generally go through all the way up until the finale. So to see a seeded 11th in there, I'll have to watch that very carefully, I think. But seriously though, we are going to be moving on to round number 2, and the match that we will be streaming, I believe I have confirmation here, it will be Yam versus Mr. Addle. These two always get up to some interesting shenanigans when we watch these two play out. Mr. Addle always comes incredibly close, but Yam always seems to find a way of inching things out and keeping things under their control. I mean, if anything, the pressure is very much high on both of these two at this point, especially considering the fact that Yam is indeed the reigning champion, and it still feels surreal to say that, but it's also mighty fine to hear that, because Yam has put in so much work, so much energy into trying to get into this. They've been in so many tournaments at this point, and to finally get the Challenge Cup win in the last cup is just... It was a long time coming, but 100% worth the wait. So now that their first match in the Challenge Cup since winning it, can they get the ideal start and take out Mr. Addle, or will Mr. Addle throw a bit of a curveball? We're going to find out. Yam as Min Min will be on the left hand side of your screen. Mr. Addle with Dr. Coil. Remember that we are still in best of threes, and our 5 starter stages will see Sparring Ring picked first. We have the Sparky and the Homie for Yam on the left hand side of your screen. Mr. Addle for Coil will have the Powerballer and the Toaster. Min Min's ability being that Dragon Arm, able to charge up on that left hand side permanently for as long as they stay standing, and Yam misses the grab! Yam got the Sparky here but couldn't get the grab. Coil just drifted slightly to the side, and that grab unfortunate there for Yam, but still incredibly consistent in the early stages. Addle's abilities with Coil, well, you can basically roam around in the skies, pretty much hover as much as you want. Good time grab from Coil there as well, and also that wonderful third arm, and goodness me, we got grab spams coming on in from Addle, 2 in a row there. Nice and spicy, and certainly keeping Yam on the toes. Yam had such a great start, but Addle has already got that gap closed right on down. And Yam is having themselves a really difficult time here. That Toaster and the shock and the grabs, everything is lining up for Addle. They are very comfortable and happy with this arm combination. The Powerballer just acting like that temporary mini shield, rushes through it, and Yam should get away with this. No, they won't. They get caught a little bit, and the Homie can't get anything off. A scuffed rush for both, but crucially it's Addle who gets the damage, Addle who gets the shock, and Addle who gets the grab. That Powerballer Toaster on the Coil is spicy. It's working quite nicely for them, and Addle's going to switch things up now. Drops the Powerballer, brings in the Tri-Blast, and immediately pins Yam down. Remember, Sparring Ring's pretty much no gimmicks whatsoever. It's just straight up boxing. And if Adel can get a decent start, they can absolutely start to control the pace, but Yam is not going to have anything to do with that. Does get caught by the Triblast again, and this makes it a lot harder for Min Min to move. Does manage to get out of the rush initially, but still has to take 130 damage. Tried to get the punish, just couldn't quite hit it. And Adel is just pinning Yam into this corner. And you can tell Min Min is not doing well in this at all. Finally does get the sparky hit, but again, because Adel was already positioned so high up with the shock, Coil just drifts on down and the grab misses again. 2 opportunities for Yam to get some more damage in back-to-back points, and it's just not quite happened. The Triblast just missing on Yam that time round as well. Both with rush set and ready to go. We know the missile can do so much damage in its rush capacity, and the Sparky is now permanently up again for Yam, but now straight back down by the oncoming storm with the Triblast. The grab is going to connect, puts Yam pretty much a hit away from going down, and there it is. The Triblast hits first, then it hits the explosion, and that will be nice for Mr. Adel, who starts this set with a 1-point lead. We've already had one upset happen in round 1. We didn't see it on stream. That was Gios beating Izzy. Could we yet see another turn of pace here? Could we see the reigning champ drop down in the early stages? We have reports that Gios has already conceded 2 points to 0 to Iceman, so whatever happened between them and Izzy, it did not follow on through momentum-wise for Gios into that round 2. But then again, it is Iceman we're talking about here. Iceman makes it through into the semi-finals. I don't think anyone's surprised to hear that. It means the lower bracket can start as well, as Gios will take on Yoshi Bowser in losers round 1. The other 3 matches are yet to be determined, but we'll keep you updated when we hear news. But crucially for Mr. Adel, that was spot on for them. Sparring Ring and Coil is always a force to be reckoned with. The Powerballer worked wonderfully for them. The Triblast worked even better. Yam just could not get into a position really to get away from that Triblast. It's a horizontal burst, free bolts just able to keep Min Min grounded. And Min Min can be quite the agile character and can be quite hard to pin down, especially with that Dragon Arm. Getting that permacharge up, you want that out of commission ASAP. You pick a stage like Sparring Ring, Min Min doesn't really have many places to go to. You have a character like Coil who could just stay central grounded and keep that position and not allow Min Min to really get the time to breathe. And on top of that, you have bolts that really shut down their movement. So it's a very dangerous combination to be going up against, and yeah, it worked quite nicely for them. And unfortunately, we're going straight back to Sparring Ring. Now, this is Yam's pick. The winner bans 2 stages from the 7 stages, 5 starters, 2 counter picks. Those 2 counter picks are Viadolce and Ninja College. The 5 starter stages are Sparring Ring, which we're going back to, DNA Lab, Temple Grounds, Mausoleum, and Buster Beach. So Yam must have a tactic in mind if they want to do this. And Adel is switching from Coil to Max Brass. So I wonder if they're confident enough to bring this strategy out and make it work elsewhere. But Yam is going to come in with the Parasol and the Phoenix. Puts the Phoenix on the Dragon Arm and has shut down Adel so far. Weak on the left-hand side. Finally does get the knockdown with the Triblast and the big-time grab as well for 170 damage. Of Brass, again, can be a very scary character to go up against. That bulk up is just always so deadly, and even when you get them into critical, it's even worse down there. So Adel will know they have time. As much damage as they can do in the early stages will just keep that pressure off of them bit by bit, although the Phoenix is going to get back through. But Yam just doesn't have the time to charge it up because Adel is quickly back on their feet and in with the rush. Gets the grab as well as Yam tried to back for the battle there. The big ol' hug is going to get a big ol' KO, and this is set point for Mr. Adel. This could be quite the surprise in the early stages. And Yam desperately trying to get something going, has the roaster now coming up on that Dragon Arm, but again falls foul of another big time grab from Adel. who is not messing around. Rush will come up from Yam. Good time damage, 360. It's exactly what Yam needs. Has enough time to get the charge up on the roast, but crucially they need to keep this up. Adel, with that Shack Bam, can get a stun in, which would absolutely be devastating for Yam because that grab will do so much damage. Does manage to hit the roaster. Adel now having to bide their time, able to at least box out the other two blows, but Yam knows if they can keep this pressure alive, they have a chance to get themselves right back into the set. And Adel finds themselves on the cusp of critical. They won't mind taking a little bit of chip damage just to bulk themselves over into that really dangerous state, but they're gonna get hit by the roaster. And here we go, maxed out critical state, the worst kind of state you want to be going up against Brass into. A full-on double commitment and a big-time grab as well, and Yam, just like that, is on the cusp of critical. How quickly it turns around in this state. The rush will come out from Yam just in the nick of time, and they knew full well they had to do that, but they have handed rush advantage straight to Mr. Adel, who wisely did not go for the counter. So, what will it be? Tri-Blast will come out with the toaster and immediately just goes, yep, Yam, you're going to try to throw out that first punch, and that's just not going to work for you. Rush will immediately counter it. Really good hit with the toaster, and finally does get knocked down, but it's not enough time for Yam to charge up that Dragon Arm on Wick on the left-hand side. That should be enough time. It absolutely is. And Adel quickly realizing that, tried to get straight back onto the thick of things, but Yam actually getting the timing of these spot on at this stage. That roaster is not going away anytime soon. Adel is too far away from getting back into rush potential, and Yam couldn't take advantage of the downed arm. Adel got a poke in at least with the Tri-Blast and bought themselves a little bit more time. Yam does have rush loaded up and ready to go, and Adel is on the cusp of critical. This could be a KO. It absolutely is a KO. And Adel went from being on the verge of an upset to now having to do it all again. It's 1-1. Yam doing everything they needed to do to bring that set back, on the verge of going down into lower bracket very early on, but finds a way to just pull on the brakes, turn that momentum on its head, and that's exactly what you wanted to see from the reigning champion, who has it all to do. One apiece here. Adel will be quite annoyed to see it go the way they did, and that is what you always want to do against the max press. If you can get them into a range where you can KO them with the rush and fire it before they enter critical, you get the KO and you get to skip that full intimidation sequence, because you saw how much damage Adel did in that second point, in that critical state alone. It just shrunk that health bar down significantly. You never want to give that kind of power, that kind of control to somebody who is looking to finally ping one over on Yam. And we are going straight back to sparring ring. A full set that's been nothing but sparring. And Adel is going to switch it up again. So keeping Yam on their toes. We saw Coil in the first one. Now we go back to Coil for the third one. And Yam has an interesting loadout. Scully and the hottest of slaps. So Yam is looking to strike quick and just as devastating as they can do. Obviously, not as much damage with that Scully. One of the lighter arms, one of the quicker arms can be punched through by pretty much anything that Adel has on their side. That hot slap will try and get around things, especially with Coil's height, but you feel like this was more to try and chip away at Brass than it would be for Coil, because Coil is an even harder target to hit. And this might be a very hard fight for Yam to deal with here. And again, since we are back on sparring ring, they really do need to get that arm charged up ASAP. They do manage to get a little bit of damage, but again, you see how little damage the Scully does charged up. It's all about that point stack, and it's all about the hot slap. And Adel with Tri-Blast can at least charge it up. The charge for Coil randomizes the third arm on either side, so it could be 2 toasters, or worst case scenario for Yam, it could be 2 Tri-Blasts, so 6 horizontal bolts. Yeah, it could be very difficult to be able to get around those. And here comes the first rush, but the explosion from the Tri-Blast is gonna cancel it immediately. Yam at least does get a grab out of that, and the Scully is fully charged at capacity. But all Adel needs to do is just get the timing of this rush, and they are going to go down, and that's exactly what's happened. 340 damage. Yam finds themselves in critical. Away with Tri-Blast hat. Really good read from Adel, and Yam is just a point away from going down, and that will do it. Set point for the third time for Mr. Adel. Scully and the hot slap remains for Yam, determined to make this work, and I think Adel knows full well that this is probably the most winnable of matches for them right now, and scores with the toaster as well. The reigning champion is determined to make this loadout work, but Adel just keeps shutting them down with Tri-Blast after Tri-Blast. Does get the grab as well, and it's going from bad to worse for Yam, who finds themselves under the halfway mark already. Adel goes for the rush, gets every bit of the rush. That is 310 damage. Yam is a punch away from going down, has to go for the rush, does at least get it, but unfortunately, Adel shields the rest of it. That's the last thing they needed, and the blast is up. The reigning champion is out in the first match of upper bracket. Adel is gonna win by 2 points to 1. Well, I'll be. The reigning champion is down into lower bracket in the first matchup for them. Unfortunate for Yam, but that is great between those two, and that is going to mean that the semi-finals are going to be incredibly spicy. Really good performance from both of them, but unfortunately Yam bringing out that Scully and the hot slap, it just did not work against Coil, who had the toast at the punch through the Scully and keep that down, and you had the Tri-Blast that essentially would just predict and get reads on exactly where Min Min was going to move on to. As long as either of those hit before the slam could get into fruition, it was always going to go Coil's way, and that's exactly what it has done. So it means the top 4 are not going to be your usual top 4. It is going to be Riffa versus Mr. Adel and Replicant versus Iceman. And that match is going to be our first semi-final of the day. So, wonderful to see all of that play out. And again, it means that the top 4 is going to be slightly different as well. Mr. Adel being up here, obviously Adel has not managed to make it into a top 3 in this cut before. They've got a very good, I say a very good chance. They're going up against Riffa, but it's a lot of things to be able to learn at this stage. And hey, you never know what can happen in this wonderful game that we call ARMS. Anything is possible. But we are going to get ourselves set up for semi-final number 1. We're going to give Adel a little chance to breathe, as Replicant took out Dr. Crit, I believe, by 2 points to 0. Yep, so the only match in 2-1 so far was the one that we got on stream, which was between Adel and Yam. Iceman and Replicant, well, we know these two. We know what these two can do. And Replicant, after a phenomenal showing at the Vortex Gallery last week, is going to find themselves going straight up against Iceman, who is coming in as Springtron, the Tri-Bolt and the Boomerang on the right-hand side of your screen. Meanwhile, Replicant with the Nade and the Coolerang as we go on to Mausoleum. Kind of like Sparring Ring. It's basically a circular Sparring Ring, with the exception, the caveat that there is a trampoline underneath that middle platform, which can come out after a series of knockdowns, which, to be fair, between either of these characters, Lollipop would not mind seeing it. I don't think Iceman would particularly be thrilled, but also Iceman generally does adapt quite well at these kind of scenarios, but is consistently being taken a little bit further back by this nade so far, and the Coolerang is going to flat out rob them of all of their abilities, as is the case for the Ice Element. And again, that nade, whilst it's not initially doing that punch damage, the explosion is still catching Iceman off guard, and Replicant really does seem to find a second win at the moment, although that disable is not going to help them. It sets Iceman up perfectly. Really good timing at the EMP. Disables one arm, gets the charged up boomerang hit, and then falls in with the rest of the rush. Beautiful combo from Iceman, and it puts themselves in the driver's seat now. Replicant into critical. And all of that hard work they did in the first half of this matchup is now undone in front of them. Iceman is just doing so well now, just waiting for the nade to come out, immediately ducking out away, and arm weak on the right hand side. Replicant putting on all sorts of pressure, but it looks like it's not going to be for anything. They do get knocked down, but the EMP crucially gets them again, fully disabling the arm, and again, Springtron takes full advantage, and Iceman will start with the initiative. Continues to come in with that Tri-Bolt and the Boomerang. They know exactly what they want to do setup-wise, and Replicant being caught out not once but twice by that EMP. It doesn't just disable the arms, by the way. It gives Springtron a bit of a buff as well. So it's incredibly dangerous when you see it ping off. Iceman will immediately ping on up with that EMP. Just quickly get that, but you just see how much faster Springtron is in this state. But the rush for Replicant, that was basically their way of saying you came up way too close. And that's going to be a very quick punish as well. And again, Replicant not going to get caught a third time in a row with that EMP. Just keeps the shield up, lets the EMP drop, and immediately punished with the nade. Really good patience for Replicant. And just like that, that is a KO. Smoothly, patiently played by Replicant. These are some of the best players in the scene, and they're showing it to you right now. As we get ourselves underway with a very important point. Winner of this will take the lead in this set. Remember, it is best of threes in the early stages. We won't have best of fives until the finales of each bracket. And both will start with rush set and ready to go. The Coolerang does find a way through. The nade again just chipping away. Arm weak on the left hand side, and Replicant will know they can go for this pressure, but they also know they have to be careful with it, considering the fact that EMP can and will trip them up, and that's exactly what it's going to do again. Iceman again just waits for it, catches Replicant just as the arm goes away, and punishes in with the rest of the rush, immediately flinging in with a free EMP buff as well. Will wear off sooner rather than later. Not really able to take full advantage of that onslaught. Replicant, for the time being, will breathe themselves a sigh of relief, gets another quick little 1-2 hit in that, and knows full well that a chance to punish with the rush could be coming. Both just trying to bait each other out here. Replicant trying to get Iceman to go for the EMP whilst they were up close to probably punish with the rush, and Iceman knowing full well that is exactly what the Lola is trying to get at them. Nade is going to catch in with a little bit of an explosion damage. And now both in rush capacity. This is going to be dangerous, but the nade explodes right in front of Iceman. And if Replicant can hang on to this, they may yet take rush advantage into the next point. But I think Iceman might have the lead here. And Replicant knows full well they've got to do something. Otherwise it's over. They're going to go for it. And they do actually have to use the rush. So Iceman at least forces the rush out of them. But crucially, cannot take anything from that. It is gonna be Replicant who will take that victory. They knew full well all they needed to do was land any kind of damage, and it would do it. And that's exactly what it's done. Replicant 1, Iceman 0. And this could be shaping up things quite nicely in this semi-final. Remember, this is Iceman we're talking about. I don't think Iceman will be wanting to sit behind on a 2-0 defeat anytime soon. So we're going to see what happens from here. Very close match between these two. But Replicant knew the score was 1-1. The time was ticked down. Even chip damage would have likely given the lead to Replicant at that stage. Which is why you saw Iceman trying to get the heck out of there. Could not do so. And ultimately, that was Replicant's point there and then. Signed, sealed, and delivered. And now we wait. Now we wait to see what Iceman's decision is going to be. Ninja College will be the call, and it's going to be a Lola Ditto. Iceman decides to pick Replicant's fighter of choice and bring in a Lollipop of their own. It'll be the Hydra and the Coolerang for Replicant, going up against the Scorpia and the Popper on the side of Iceman. And that Popper is such a quick arm. And you know exactly what Iceman's plan is here, and already it's working wonderfully for them. Keep the high ground, get that arm in as soon as physically possible. Yes, it can be punched through by the Boomerang and the Hydra, but crucially, the Boomerang is more of a curved arm, and it's really just all about can the Popper hit before the Hydra can start chaining that damage. Once that fire is up, it's just going to run straight through Lola, and if the Coolerang hits, well, it's just going to rob Lola of all of those shield bouncing abilities that we love to see from them. And now, the high ground advantage goes to Replicant. Let's see what they can do with this as Iceman fights from underneath. They won't mind too much. The Popper does have a fair bit of AoE, and the Scorpio has two different ways of attacking, but Replicant, well, they're going to see exactly why. It's very hard to land a rush on Lola, and Iceman is going to get the full-on punish with this, and it can be quite infuriating for your opponent to pick a character that you main on a regular basis and then see them beat you with said character. But that's exactly what is happening right here and now. Iceman is just one hit away from taking the initiative in this matchup. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Replicant starts with the higher ground now, brings in the nade alongside that Coolerang. Iceman, well, if it ain't broke, don't change it. Scorpio and the Popper remains the same. And like I said, Iceman really doesn't mind fighting from underneath in this matchup. The Popper does have quite the wide AoE the further on out it goes. And like I said, you see that Scorpio, just as the merest of bounces, you'll see it just transform into that frisbee state. And the other state on the ground, you can see it scuttle along like its aptly named Scorpio tag. And so far, Iceman just keeps this advantage. Well, I say keeps this advantage, not really anymore. Very much even Stevens in the early stages, but the Popper again gets themselves another hit. The charged hit just sends Replicant straight back upstairs. And that is not going to do Replicant the world of good. They managed to get in another wayward punch, but so far, Iceman is just in control of this. They know Replicant has to come to them. And the Popper just seems to always catch them by surprise. And like I said, it's only the one glove that's really punching on through with this. It's the nade, because the Coolerang is just going straight around. So as long as the Popper can avoid the nade and hit, as it's doing here, Replicant just doesn't have an answer for it. And that is going to be another grab. Replicant into critical. Replicant has to go for the rush because they've got nothing else. 165, Iceman hits the floor immediately, so they couldn't get a second volley at it. There's only 20 seconds left on the clock. Replicant has to do so much damage, and Iceman has a rush in hand. You feel like whatever way you slice this, Iceman is likely taking this victory away, and I think Iceman knows that, because they've just got the shield up and just taunting Replicant at this point. And it is game and done and dusted. It's one apiece in the set, as Iceman wins this point by 2-0. Yeah, like I said, it could be quite the punch. It could be quite the gut punch when you have your enemy pick the character that you main on a regular basis and then beat you with it. It really do be like that, but also that just shows the flexibility that Iceman possesses, able to make anything work on any character. I think Riffa has that trait as well, where Riffa could pretty much come in to the tournament with anyone and make it work somehow, some way. It's just how it be. It just is how it be sometimes. And with that, we're going to go to match number 3. So 2 streamed matches in a row will go to distance. But I guess the question is, where will we be going to? Muscle Aim and DNA Labs were banned from Iceman, so it looks like Temple Grounds will be the pick as we go to our third and final matchup. And Iceman is gonna stick with the Lollipop, and Replicant, they've got to come out with something to try and counteract this. I don't think Iceman has really switched up anything. Popper and the Scorpio, and I think Replicant, well, let's see if the Biffler and the Bertruck will be the answer that they're looking for. No curved arm for Replicant. I think they know full well they want to be able to outbox Iceman in any capacity. Just get stung by the Scorpio tail, but does manage to have the poison stack go away. The poison can stack up to 3 just as a heads up, and Replicant will not be wanting to have that stack for too long. The Biffler, not as aggressive as the Hydra, but can absolutely impair Iceman's vision. Managed to initially rob them with the Birdchuck again. Like the Scorpio, has 2 different modes of attacking. But yeah, you'll see Biff's face all over Iceman's screen on the right hand side if Replicant does hit a charged up or a rush. You'll see it there as well. There you go. That's just a sample of what that looks like. The rush does go through for about 250 odd damage. Gives Replicant a chance in this matchup. Temple Ground's a little bit more of the wider of the stages. A slight elevation on the 4 pillars to protect yourself from. Only 2 left on the far side of the screen here. As Replicant and Iceman box around it. Good hit from Replicant. Very much threading the need up, but unfortunately dropping straight down into the rush. Thankfully the pillar was there, so the Iceman could only do the first half of the damage. But crucially, it's enough to send Replicant into critical, and Iceman again very comfortable with this setup. Pretty much at the halfway mark, Replicant into critical. They've got 10 seconds to try and find a way of chaining hits down. All 4 pillars will be down for the next point, and Replicant will likely start this with rush advantage. Although it does get a grab, it won't change anything in the grand scheme of things. But Replicant at least starts with the rush. But Iceman will not be too far away with a rush of their own, so Replicant has it all to do if they want to find a way of taking Iceman out of the equation. The Biffler remains alongside that Birdchuck, and Iceman is comfortable bringing that Scorpio and the Popper back in once more. And this is what we mean by Iceman. Doing it once will be bad enough for Replicant, but doing it twice will absolutely be a momentum killer. And Iceman determined to book their ticket into the top 3. Which would be business as usual pretty much if that were to be the case. If Riff is in a tournament, Riffer generally gets top 3. If Iceman is in a tournament, Iceman generally makes it to top 3 as well. The rush is going to come up, patiently played from Replicant. Does a decent chunk of damage, but again, crucially, Iceman now has the rush advantage. Tries to go for it, but gets stopped by the Biffler. It's a really good coordination there from Replicant, trying to bait out a mistake from Iceman, and so far, it's working. Able to really make that Biffler work beautifully. It covers so much ground that Lola does not want to see yielded away from them anytime soon. And a good grab as well. And just like that, the momentum begins to shift. Replicant is starting to build up a head of steam. And suddenly, they've cracked the code. They've figured out what Iceman is up to and is adapting on the fly. 23 seconds to go. Replicant pretty much at full health. Iceman is a hit away from going down, and that is it. They took a little bit of damage in the early stages, but that is as close to perfect as you can get. Patiently played, and Iceman knows they have to switch it up. The Scorpio is just being shut down left, right, and center. And so the hot slap comes in, but that is not going to help them. The rush is going to come through, and Iceman had no idea where it was coming from. That is exactly what the Biffler is designed to do. Just apply some mind games, but quickly comes back at them as well. 250 odd damage. Both very much on even health here. And Iceman needs to slow this down a little bit. Replicant is starting to get carried away. And finally, Iceman getting a couple wayward hits at the pop and make that arm weak on the right-hand side. And just like that, Iceman now finds a way back in, adapting their playstyle, knowing full well the Scorpio didn't work. The hot slap is working beautifully for them. The popper just keeps getting through bit by bit by bit. And just like that, Replicant finds themselves in critical condition. They are a hit away from going down if they're not careful. Gets away with Biff the hit, but they need more than that right now. Goes for the rush, but Iceman gets the heck out of there. Nothing that Replicant could do about that. Rush comes out from Iceman. No dice for them either. Chip damage and nothing more, but that will help Iceman. One hit from anything will take this away from them, but the Biffler runs into the Birdchuck for a 1-2 combination. The hot slap just about avoiding, and Replicant, can they take advantage? Not quite, not on this occasion. That hot slap is scary, so too is that popper. 16 seconds left on the clock. Replicant will have rushed very, very soon. Strips Iceman of their abilities, and this will be the most important 10 seconds of the entire tournament. The slap comes out, the rush will hit! The rush will hit! And Iceman will not make it into top 3 the easy way. It is 2 points to 1 in the first semi-final. And what a match from freaking nowhere. What a set from Replicant. Oh wow, that was an amazing set from start to finish. It kept ebbing and flowing, each player having a good advantage after the other. But wow. Oh my goodness, it came down to the last hit of the last point of the last match in that set. You got to love to see it, but it will be Replicant who books their ticket guaranteed into top 3 and will await the winner of Riffer versus Mr. Addle. I love the fact that Replicant is apparently the highest seed over Iceman, but in my books that is still an upset because Replicant has won this cup 3 times and Iceman has won it 14 times. And is always in the top 3. The only person with more top 3 finishes than Iceman with 32 is Riffer with 55 and is currently on a top 3 streak that is not even close to being contested. So you would think that Iceman would take it, but Replicant says no. The momentum that they are riding from last week's Vortex Gallery is coming so good. And Replicant is going to have themselves a winner's final appearance. Down in the lower bracket, Gios has taken out Yoshi Bowser by 2 points to 1, so it'll be Crits versus Gios in losers round 2. Yam beat out Slacks by 2 points to 0, and Penzo beat Ghost by 2 points to 1, so Penzo still got it seems. And Ghost is going to have the earliest exit I think I've ever seen for Ghost. That is quite the shock, so there is some surprises happening in this competition. Dr. Chris will take on Gios and Yam will take on Penzo, so the reigning champion will have to go up against a returning Penzo. That will be a very interesting matchup, but it would be a shock if Yam goes out at that stage, but hey, you never know, and that just goes to show you that Penzo still got it. But now we come to a very important matchup, Riffer. Revolutionary Riffer, the man who never seems to stop winning, to go up against Mr. Addle in our second semi-final of the day. So between these two, well, anything can happen. Like I said, I've already read you the stats. All of the stats, every stat imaginable is in Riffer's favor here. 27 wins, 19 second places, 9 third places. They are on a top 3 streak of 14 in a row right now. The longest anyone has ever had in this competition. They're looking to make it 15 in a row. They're looking to make it 56 guaranteed top 3 appearances. Mr. Addle is looking for their first ever. And you've got to beat Riffer to do it. Easy, right? Riffer on the left-hand side of your screen is coming in with Miss Sango and gets grabbed immediately by the brass of Mr. Addle. So it's the Cracker and Coolerang for Riffer versus the Triblast and the Toaster of Mr. Addle. DNA Lab, one of the biggest stages in this game. 6 good old tubes to dance around, and Nisango already using one of their 3 masks. The blue mask gives them so much speed, and look at what it's doing against a character like Brass. It is just ringing circles around them at this point, and Addle already on the cusp of critical, just on how fast Riffer is going with Misango. Finally does get pinned down by that explosion from Addle, but again, Riffer is not phased by this whatsoever. They're being pinned down in this corner now, which is the last place they want to be against a full-on intimidation run Addle, but the rush, thankfully, will shut this down. They will hand the rush advantage to Addle, but a very quick first match between these two here. Crack and Cooldown will remain, so too is the Toaster and the Triblast. And Riffa gonna immediately get that shut down and at least manages to stop Riffa in their tracks. 230 damage, disarms the blue mask. And quickly put themselves back in contention, but they have to be so careful. The Coolerang can get around them very quickly and rob them of their abilities. And that Cracker is so quick. Does that little bit more extra damage than the Popper does. But again, that Triblast runs right through them. But again, Riffa quickly back up onto their feet. Adel is still in frozen territory and just quickly punishes them. And this is what Riffa is all about. And this could be a very quick matchup if we're not careful. Adel will get into that perma buffed up state that Brass generally comes into. The Triblast will at least punch on through, deal damage. Riffa has to be careful here. It needs to play this very carefully, both with Rush Step and ready to go. It's Adel who are playing it first. And Riffa went for it second, but neither will get anything from that. So as far as Adel is concerned, that's great for them. They are coming in all guns blazing now, and Riffa knows full well they have got to be so careful. One more hit from anything will do. Was that a self-destruct? I think that was a self-destruct. It was! No, the Cracker got through. The Cracker got through the explosion. And Riffa will take it. Breathes a sigh of relief in the end there. It's a point up for Riffa, who is looking to do what he usually does. And see themselves into winners final straight away, like they usually do. It feels weird actually looking at the stats going, hey, yeah, there's been 80 cups and Riffa has been in top 3, 55 of them. Like, it's getting ludicrous now at this point. And so we go back to DNA Labs, and we got Coil now coming out for Mr. Adel. So Brass is gone. Here comes the Coil, Powerballer, and the Toaster to go up against that Cracker and the Coolerang. And Riffa immediately falls foul of a starting grab from Mr. Adel for the second game in a row. And now the sheer hat-trick of volleys from Coil. And suddenly Adel is a completely different player coming into this. What is happening here? They're shutting down Riffa at every opportunity here. Finally, the blue mask does come on, and Riffa gets themselves a little bit of distance from Adel. But that was the worst that I think I've seen for Riffa in quite some time. But this is Riffa we're talking about. Does manage to hit the Coolerang, a little bit of chip damage, but Adel is now back into full gear and now begins to start closing that gap down once again. Yellow Mask comes up, gets themselves the rush, and Adel needs to be careful here because with that mask up, the rush priority will always go to Riffa no matter what Adel does here. So they have to be so careful. They have to get that mask disarmed. And here comes the rush from Riffa. It will do no damage. Well, I say no damage. It does chip damage, but nothing more than that. Both arms weak as a result of that exchange. And in fact, one down and broken through gives Riffa a chance to do a little bit more damage. And Adel has to be very careful here. They still have health lead, but again, this is Riffa we're talking about. If anyone can turn it around, it always ends up being Riffa. Another Coolerang hit. Takes another tube down. Riffa is pretty much a hit away from getting this back into their favor. And in fact, they've pretty much got rush set and ready to go. And in fact, I think they might have health lead here as well. And that rush will confirm it. And that is going to be the point to Riffa after all of that. Yep. This is just what Riffa do, and now he brings out the Seeky to go into this. Mr. Adel with the Triblast and the Toaster immediately gets caught with a bit of an explosion, and now Riffa, feeling that momentum, is not gonna fall foul to the rush. Gets clipped by it, but the last tube gives themselves a little bit of a breathing space. And Riffa quickly dons the red mask, gets Coil out of the sky, to at least resort to a wake-up grab. Puts Riffa straight back down, and in fact gets the Triblast up as well, and suddenly Coil begins their rampage again. Riffa finally gets the jump and gets away, but again, so much damage done, and trying to get the mask up. Riffa's gonna lose that out immediately, but it doesn't matter because the rush comes out. Thankfully, the second hit does not land, but Adel again watches their health lead just quickly dissipate. It goes down into critical. Will this be a KO? It's not a KO. It does damage, but it's not enough to get the point away. And Adult needs at least one hit from anything to try and force themselves into another point scenario. Whereas Riffa is just looking for one more hit from pretty much that missile. And that is going to give them the set by 2 points to 0. The blue mask is up. It gives them that extra speed. And Adult knows that's going to be hard to shut down at the worst of times. Again, that totem acting as like a mini shield for Riffa, and now the rush is pretty much charged up and ready to go for both sides of the field. But as long as Riffa has that mask, they have the advantage. But thankfully, it's the explosion for Adel that does enough to get the KO off of Misango. So, it's not over yet in this set. The Cracker and the Sea Key will remain for Riffa. And Riffa will want that yellow mask up ASAP. There it is. But they're going to lose it immediately as they jump straight into the rush of Mr. Adult. And you would think that Adult will try to go for the rush as soon as they can, because they know full well Riffa is going to get that mask back up. And there it is. But having said that, Coil just drifts away, gets the shield up. Their engines are able to do that for them. And now, the rush advantage turns to Mr. Adel, who immediately gets the blue mask and quickly gets... Oh, but they dash back into it! They dash back into it! I mean, 145 damage. So, to some of you, may not be much in terms of rush, but still, it's 140 damage. That is better than nothing. And that's another knockdown hit for Adel, who knows they've got to do everything they can if they want to keep the Revolutionary Riffa out of contention. And another wake-up punch. Good, solid work from Adel. Both parties will have rush to go, but Riffa, crucially, finds themselves in critical. They hit the Seeky hit. Only the first volley, but again, the first volley with that is still a lot of damage. And now, Mr. Adel knows full well what that blue mask can do. They'll have to try and find a way of disarming that, or forcing Riffa into a situation where they cannot boost their way out of it. The Cracker will hit, and Riffa sees that lead begin to come back towards them, but the Triblast disarms them, and Adel suddenly realizes this is a winnable situation, but they've got to get this hit where it matters most. 10 seconds on the clock. Riffa needs to get a move on. 7 seconds, 6 seconds, both with rush set and ready to go, but the shield will be up, and that surely will do it. Adel gets the KO, and it's not over yet. It's one apiece. The second semi-final also goes to match 3. Three matches on stream in a row go to match 3. Yam versus Adel went 2-1 to Adel. Replicant versus Iceman went 2-1 to Replicant. And now Adel, from a game down no less, against Riffa, of all people, has tied this set up. And I genuinely have no idea which way this is now going to go. Brass didn't work for Adel. Riffa was consistently shutting them down, but was having a much harder time landing blows onto Coil. I mean, yes, were they consistent hits? Yes, they were. Way more consistent anyway, but Adel would just suddenly have a burst of pace every now and then, would just land every wake-up hit imaginable, and Riffa would see their health just slice in two. And if Adel could do something like that again, that would be beautiful. But we now go to Temple Grounds. Buster and Via both being banned. Temple Grounds will be the pick. And Temple Grounds is a pretty nice spot for Misango to be in. Again, we got the 4 pillars. Not 6 this time, we just got the 4. It's not as big as DNA Lab, but it's still a wide stage. But crucially, we've seen Riffa come to the stage time and time and time again, and Riffa always seems to get the job done with Misango and Temple Ground. The combination never really fails them. Coil can still make this stage work though. And that'll be the Toaster and the Triblast going up against the Cracker and the Coolerang as we go into a very thrilling third match between these two. The winner will book their place into top 3. And the loser will have to drop down into lower brackets and fight their way from there. Both getting a good first hit, but it's the grab and decent damage from Adel that comes through first. And again, the wake up into the series of Triblast. And that is not what Riffa wants to be waking up to time and time and time again. Finally gets a punch and gets the yellow mask up to get that rush charged up and ready to go, but Adel will just bide their time. That invisibility cloak can come up for as long as they remain shielded, and it just gives them the chance to try and surprise Misanga with another grab like that. These are some really good reads from Adel so far. Goes for the rush, gets the KO! It's set point for Mr. Adel. The scenes that may follow might shock you to your core. Riffa will have to win 2 points in a row if they want to make it to top 3 again. Otherwise, Mr. Adel will be putting on a hell of a streak breaker right here and now. Adel goes for the initial swing, gets the first punch that they were looking for, but unfortunately falls foul to that Cracker. Never underestimate the speed and the power of that Cracker. Freeze into the grab combination, and Riffa is not playing around anymore, but does get caught in mid-air. Never go one-on-one in an aerial exchange with Coil, but having said that, 340 damage. Beautiful rush from Riffa. Gets the red mask straight back up. They've got Coil pinned into this corner, and they need to try and keep them there. The shield just comes up in the nick of time, still taking a variety of minimal damage. And I say minimal very, very loosely. Riffa gets the KO in dominant fashion. One apiece in the set, one apiece in the game. It's all to play for. Toaster and Tri-Blast, Cracker and the Coolerang. Adel will start with Rush. Tries to get that first volley, but cannot do so this time around. And Riffa does get pinned into the corner. Not where you wanna be. And Rush is gonna come out. It'll be chip damage, unfortunately, and nothing more than that. It gives Riffa now the chance to turn this back around with the Rush and quickly start to come forward again. That red mask is so aggressive. The rush is there in the back pocket. And again, another knockdown onto Mr. Adel. Arm weak on the left-hand side. They will not want to see that break anytime soon. And I think it might just be about to, or not. Somehow they got away with it. Now it breaks. And finally the knockdown does come. And Adel will not mind that in the slightest. But again, they need to get out of this corner. As long as Riffa keeps them there, it's going to be dangerous. Finally gets the knockdown that they were looking for. And another wayward ping with the Tri-Blast. But again, Riffa goes for the totem. Has to try and yield it just a little bit. Not enough to get the rush up now. But now with the yellow mask up, the rush is going to come out. Will it be enough to hit? It hits a little bit. 130 damage, but Riffa with the rush advantage. Crucially, with 30 seconds left to go, another red mask. It means that unflinching, wavering nature of Misanga continues to run riot. And Riffa knows a rush at this stage will KO, and I think it will do. There will not be a shock. There will not be an upset. And for the 15th time in a row, and for the 56th time overall, Riffa is in winners final and in top 3. A great showing from both of those individuals. Adel doing everything they could to force the upset, but it just didn't happen. It just not to be once again. And Mr. Adel went from not just being able to be on the cusp of beating Riffa, with not many people can say, let's be real, but also on the cusp of getting their first ever top 3 appearance it would only be the 29th time a new face has made it onto the top 3 podium positions. So close! But Riffa once again proves why he is a 27-time Challenge Cup winner. And so it will be Riffa versus Replicant in the winners final. Our first best of 5 of the day. 3-time winner Replicant versus 27-time winner Riffa. Replicant with 3 wins, 7 second places and 9 thirds, with a total of 19 top 3 finishes and 10 finale appearances, versus Riffa with that 27 wins, 19 second places and 9 third places. That is 55 top 3 appearances overall and 46 finales in a, well, I say in a row. I was gonna say it's not 55 top 3s in a row. That's ludicrous. It was 14. It's now 15 basically. So each of them can add another number to that tally. So Replicant now hits the 20 top 3s. That is cool. But yeah, Riffa with now 56 official top 3 appearances in this competition. Yeah, the stats really don't lie, do they? They really do paint Riffa as, yeah, Riffa is the final boss of the EU arms community. If you needed any further proof, those stats will tell you that right there and then. That is just how it be. Even on his off days, Riffa can still be just like, yeah, I will still make it through because it's what I do. And to be fair, Adel took him all the way with that, able to find a way of rallying themselves, and that corner was just consistently in Riffa's favor. Every time he got Coil in there, most of the times he dictated the pace, he dictated where Adel was going to go. And I think Replicant will know full well the dangers that lie with Riffa bringing Replicant into Temple Grounds. Riffa on the left-hand side of your screen, the Cracker and the Coolerang again going up against Replicant, who brings in the Hydra and the Phoenix. So it's an all-fire loadout for Replicant, who is going to be determined to make sure that Riffa does not remain standing anytime soon. Blue Mask up for Riffa. Gets that speed going as much as physically possible. Replicant just cannot seem to get a hit on him in the other stages. To be fair, neither does Rip. Never mind, no sooner have I said that, Riffa finds a way through not once, but twice, and the arm weak as well on that right hand side, and with the yellow mask equipped, that's going to give Riffa the full-on rush advantage. Minus 3 damage already done and dusted. Replicant pretty much on the cusp of critical in the early stages. And Riffa, after having to go the distance with Mr. Adel in the previous set, is not wanting to find themselves sticking around for any sets that need to go on longer than expected. They are just wanting to shut this down ASAP. Replicant already into critical. Does have Rush ready to go, but I somehow doubt they'll be using this Rush in this matchup unless they can bring Riffa into critical, which it just does not seem to be happening. One more hit is all Riffa needs with 25 seconds left on the clock, and Riffa already with Rush back pretty much fully charged up. The grab will come from Replicant with 17 seconds left on the clock. They're still fighting for everything they have, but they know full well that all Riffa needs is one more hit. And there it is. Riffa taking the initiative in this first game. And so onwards we go again and again. Replicant straight away being knocked down. The rush will come up. Replicant will get clipped for 140 at the very least. So not as bad as the previous rush, but still damage. And now a full-on trade from the pair of them. At least does send Riffa down, and Replicant again just tries to double commit. But again, Riffa, despite being stuck in the corner themselves, they play it so patiently. They wait for the commit from their opponent, and the Cracker generally, more times than anything, will just hit them where it hurts. And again, another rush stoppage from Riffa. And this is what I mean. This is why that top 3 to finale convergences for Riffa is so goddamn high. Because he always seems to just start as they mean to go on. The second he makes it to the winner's final, grand final looks inevitable. Riffa takes the first match by 2 points to 0 and leads the set by 1 to 0. Whilst all of that is happening, I can give you an update for the lower brackets. Crits has taken out Gios by 2 points to 0. And Yam took out Penzo by 2 points to 1. So the reigning champion is still in this. But it means losers round 3 is a very spicy matchup down there. We've got Mr. Addle versus Dr. Crit. And we've got Iceman versus the reigning champion of Yam. Could you imagine if this builds up to another Mr. Addle versus Yam? Watch as both Addle and Yam both get knocked out, because that's just the way it goes. Addle has had such a great winner's run, and it would be a shame to see him lose their very first losers match. But again, anything can happen in an esports competition. That is just how it be. But we'll cast the losers bracket to the side for just a moment as we remain focused on our winner's final matchup. Riffa leads by 1 point to 0. That second match just starts to control the flow of that entire thing. Riffa is absolutely comfortable with that. Has the Seek in the back pocket, but rarely brings that out at this stage. Mausoleum will be the pick. Again, Replicant will not mind if the trampoline comes out, but Riffa will be doing everything in their power to make sure that does not happen. And even if it does, Riffa still generally has an answer for it. Red Mask is up, more firepower and a little bit harder to knock on down. As you see that first hit just not even phasing Riffa. That's just the trait of what the Mask can do. The ice at least robs them of it for the time being. And this is a much better start from Replicant here. Gets the grab. Gonna fling Miss Sango straight against the wall. Nothing to really be pinned down to, as you can just circle all the way around. It's a very good start from Replicant, and this is exactly what they needed. Red Mask again is gonna come out. Replicant won't be too far away from getting their rush charged up. I think Riffa is just wanting to get as much damage on the board as possible before that rush begins to really play its part. Just decide to stick with the Mask for the time being. The Toda comes up to try and shield, and I thought Riffa was going to try and get the heck out of it, but does get swept away by the boomerang in the end. And damage done. But Riffa on the cusp of critical. Red Mask again comes up, knowing full well that he may as well just get as much damage as possible, and suddenly wake up hit after wake up hit, just about getting denied on the grab. But again, another Coolerang hit, and suddenly Replicant is struggling to get out of there, and that is a K. Oh, Riffa, he just doesn't know when to stop. Every time you feel like you're finally getting somewhere against Riffa, he just clicks and shuts you down immediately. And that is going to be the first grab of the second point as well. Going the way of Riffa, another solid hit with the Coolerang. The popper is as big as it can be from Misango. Replicant is suddenly having a hard time slowing Riffa down and keeping them grounded. Riffa will have this rush charged up sooner rather than later, and again, they won't really mind not having the yellow mask up. In fact, they actually do throw the turret right now, so I think they will opt for the mask, knowing full the Replicant did hit theirs last time out. And Replicant knows they have to disarm that now. They have to get that mask out of there, because Riffa will just come in with the rush, 165 damage. They immediately fling it on off to protect themselves, that little additional shield. And the red mask will likely be coming on at some point, but Replicant will be doing everything in their power to make sure that does not happen. You see how quick Replicant is being with their punches. Does get tagged again by that Coolerang, and the red mask is now officially on. Replicant needs to find a way through, because this is looking dire for them. And Riffa again gets away with it, goes for the punish on the Coolerang, doesn't quite get it. Replicant gets a hit off their own, but Riffa with rush, Riffa with one hit to win it, and there it is. Gets out of the explosion. It does not knock them down because the red mask is up, and straight on through the hit goes. Riffa went from being a game away, a point away from going down into losers round 3, to now being one game away from doing a full sweep in the winners final. Like I said, after that Mr. Addle match, I think Riffa pretty much turned around and went, I want nothing like that ever again. I just want to be done and done with this set. And Replicant is doing everything they can, but every time they start to get some form of momentum built up, River just shuts them down. Every single time. Like that second point, Replicant just couldn't get back into it. River is able to switch around between those masks, knowing the position and the timing to do so. If you're on a roll, keep the red mask up. Deal so much more damage. If you know the threat of the rush is there, switch it on back, let it rotate, get the yellow mask up, and keep ebbing and flowing. Keep the control of that momentum. And again, back to Misango's place of Temple Grounds. Replicant brings out the Rooster and the Phoenix. Will it be able to counteract the Cracker and the Coolerang? That remains to be seen, and so far River has had an answer every time we came back to Temple Ground. And it will be the Cracker that starts off with the first point of damage and even bigger slice of damage in the early stages of this matchup. And Replicant already on the back foot and not where they want to be at this stage, especially with the blue mask equipped and River already on the cusp of a rush. Replicant just cannot find a way through as another punch goes wayward. Bouncing off the totem again, just that extra mini shield that River has at their deployment, but doesn't get the rush this time around. The Phoenix does punish. And so River will have to do all of this work the hard way. Replicant can keep themselves grounded for the time being. The yellow mask initially coming on up, but then quickly being dropped in exchange for a little bit of extra shield. But unfortunately, it's going to go against Replicant this time around. Blue mask is back up. Stuck in the corner, yes, but probably not for long. Replicant is going to start their Numi goodness. Replicant does have rush set and ready to go. Goes for it, gets it. That's exactly what they needed. 355 damage. It puts River on the cusp of critical. And Replicant suddenly with the health lead. But again, that 1-2 chain again just about avoids the grab and hits into the red mask. So they need to go in for that all firepower charge. And with 10 seconds left on the clock, you can never take it easy with River, who comes in with the rush, will force the break. Will they get extra damage? They don't. They rolled the dice and went straight all in with it. They do at least hit Replicant into critical, but Replicant hangs on by dear life. You could tell that River was trying to force at least a draw out of that, if anything, but Replicant barely hangs on with just a millimeter of a gap to get that point and at least take rush advantage away from River. But River doesn't really mind conceding rush advantage. They charge it up so quick anyway, and the yellow mask will give them that little extra bonus. But that is what Replicant needs. Takes a little bit of damage in the early stages, but it's all about this rush exchange, and they crucially force the yellow mask off of River immediately, but they're going to equip it straight away again. Replicant cannot take full advantage of it. River just barely allows any time to really make mistakes. They still make them, yes, but Replicant just hasn't been able to capitalize on them as much as they would like to. Another raid would pop a hit. They will not want to take too many more of those. They do still have health lead at the moment, Replicant, but all of that can very quickly change the more hits the River begins to chart on up. Rush comes out. It will hit Replicant in the end for 315. I thought they got the punish, but apparently the punch they were looking for just got cancelled in the nick of time. Which isn't great if you're a Replicant fan of River. That's exactly what they needed. And whilst the rush is up for Replicant, they know they cannot afford to be using that. In fact, they're actually going to use it anyway. They're going to go ahead and roll the dice, just like how River did in the previous match. 14 seconds left on the clock. Tries to get the Rose to hit, but it's cancelled by the Coolerang. And just like that, River maintains the health lead. Does get caught by a wayward hit, but they won't allow that to deter them anytime soon. The Coolerang will give them enough of a buffer to get away with that. It's one apiece in this match, but crucially, it's a set point for River. And so here we go again. Hydra just about grazing River on that pass, but the grab is going to do so much more damage. And quickly, the red mask comes up, which is the last thing Replicant wants to see right now. Another successful grab. And River is going to start chaining this up. Yellow mask now comes out because they know Replicant's rush will be set and ready to go. And Replicant wisely gets the fire on hit, and this is why you run double firepower against a character like Misango. But the rush came straight back out. Replicant has to shield, and take all of the chip damage imaginable. Does manage to hit the totem to keep Riffa at bay for the time being, but now the arm weak on the left-hand side. Yes, a lot of this pressure is coming in from Riffa, but crucially, Replicant has yet to fire with the rush right now. Riffa continues to have rush lead, slowly being pinned in this corner, but working their way out, and crucially, dodging into the side of the Hydra. That is rush confirmed for Replicant. Riffa down into critical. Riffa pops the blue mask on, but immediately gets cancelled down straight into the corner. And once they do get a hit in there, crucially, I think any charged hit from Replicant will take Riffa out of the equation, but that grab is the last thing that they need, because Riffa gets the red mask on. They know full well rush is set and ready to go. Almost gets caught by the Hydra, and Replicant knows this is not looking good for them. They're stuck in the corner, and Riffa knows anything at this point will win it for them. And there it is. They don't even have to use the rush. The fear factor is there, and it's in Riffa's favor. A 3-0 wipe for Riffa. And for the 47th time in his Challenge Cup career, Riffa is in the grand finals of a Challenge Cup. Well, that's just what Riffa do. Good fights from both sides of the field. Replicant trying to get themselves back in every single time, but Riffa just always able to find a way of shutting down the momentum, and nothing you can really do in that kind of position. So it means that Riffa is awaiting in the grand final once again. Replicant will have to fight in the losers final, but they're still guaranteed a podium whatever happens. Iceman has knocked out the reigning champion of Yam by 2 points to 1. It went the distance, but crucially, the reigning champion is out, so Yam will not join that illustrious group of those who have successfully retained their title. They are out of here. And so we await to see what happens between Mr. Adult and Dr. Crits. We're going to take ourselves a quick little breather. On the other side, the top 4 will do battle to find out who will be entering the podium positions and who will unfortunately just miss out by the merest of margins. Don't go away, my friends. We will be right back. And my friends, we are back for the 80th installment of the EU Arms Challenge Cup. I am your girl, your host and commentator still, TK Layla. Hopefully you've all recovered from the past few matches. I love the fact that we had 3 matches go the distance in best of 3s, and the second we have our first best of 5, it's a wipe. Because of course it is, it was Riffa. What did you expect, I guess. But still, with the winner side pretty much done and dusted, we now turn our attention to the losers bracket. And we have confirmation that Mr. Adel took out Dr. Crits by 2 points to 0, which means the next matchup that is coming is losers semi-finals. And losers semi-finals will be contested between Mr. Adel and Iceman. I think I should probably switch those 2 names around because it's probably going to be Iceman on the left hand side of your screen, since I think it was them who set up the lobby in the process. So we're pretty much set and ready to go. And this should be interesting from the pair of them here. And the reason why I say this is because, well, the top 3 could be the top 3 seeds in the tournament. Number 1 seed was Riffa, number 2 seed was Replicant, number 3 seed was Iceman. Iceman is literally the individual right now that is between Mr. Adel and a first ever top 3 appearance. Iceman has been here before. We know what they're capable of. We know what they can do. 32 top 3 appearances. 21 of those have been a grand final appearance. 14 wins, you get the general idea. Mr. Adel, none of that. Not a single one of those for Mr. Adel. They came dangerously close to beating Riffa. They were 1 point away. 1 game is all that Adel needed to take Riffa out and book their tickets into top 3. It didn't happen for them up there. Now they have to try and beat out the other big hitter in the form of Iceman. It's going to be a very hard matchup. But let's see. Let's see where this goes. Iceman on the left-hand side of your screen as Min Min, that big old elemental glove. Oh, sorry, non-elemental glove. And, of course, the Hydra. Very handy for dealing with Dr. Curls. Dr. Curl from Mr. Adel, that same loadout we've been seeing all day. The Toaster and the Tri-Blast pretty much all there. That big old glove gets a big old buff, as it is on the Dragon Arm. But Adel quickly shuts it down with the Tri-Blast volley. And let us see if Coil can continue to keep Min Min grounded in the early stages on DNA Labs. Both characters pretty much opting to hop behind and dance around these tubes, although Adel just like to keep on that central area as much as they can. On the right hand side, Iceman will be looking to try and disarm that anytime soon. Get tagged again by the Tri-Blast, but does crucially get a knockdown. Adel says no more of that, thank you very much. Gets the 225 damage. That explosion from the Tri-Blast at least gets that final hit. Iceman does have rush advantage now, but crucially does not have the Dragon Arm up, and Adel a little too far away there. Gave Iceman enough time, but quickly shuts the back down again, and Adel seems to have this rhythm on lockdown in the early stages. They're doing everything they can to take this away from Iceman. Long range grab does connect. 1 more hit is all that Adel is looking for, and Iceman is in a dangerous position in the early stage. I was not expecting this. Adel is going to take the initiative in this game. Hello? What? Well, that's not a number on my phone book. I wasn't quite expecting this. And again, Adel goes for the rush. Unfortunately, Iceman does get away with it. Took a little bit of damage in very nervy moments, but crucially snaps back with 310. That tube very much saving Iceman's life there in the early stages. They did not want to be going behind anytime soon and get themselves another big ol' hit. Sends Adel crashing back down and trying to go desperately for the grab, but it's not going to hit on this occasion. Only the one tube pretty much left, but also important to know that Iceman doesn't really have many other places to hide behind at this point, as Adol does everything they can, sends the double commitment, and actually does catch Iceman on the back foot. Another wayward Hydra hit, but thankfully for Adol, it ain't charged up, so it won't do too much to them, but that one unfortunately was. Full-on rush potential, 205 damage. It gives Iceman enough breathing time to get that big old glove back to a big old state. Adol on the cusp of critical, trying desperately to box that down, gets a little bit of explosion damage. And Iceman just desperately trying to kick back some of these arms, get themselves out of harm's way. They know full well they can't really make any proper advances here. And the Hydra that does get sent out, if it's not charged up, it won't phase Coil too much, although Coil now finds themselves into critical. He gets caught by another wayward glove. Any more hits from this point will send Adol out of contention, but another good old toaster hit puts Iceman on the cusp, but this could be a KO. It might be a KO right here and now. No, it's not. It's 270 damage, but Iceman has enough in there. Can Adol keep themselves alive? There's just the one tube left. They can. They can! They get enough damage and get the heck out of it. There was just the one tube left. Iceman couldn't punch through. And Mr. Adol takes a 2-0 over Iceman. They lead the set by 1-0. Don't, Mr. Adol. Don't give us hope. Don't give the chat hope. Adol came dangerously close to knocking out Riffer into loser's bracket. Adol is a game away from knocking Iceman, of all people, out of loser's final. This is Iceman we're talking about. He has the experience. Between him and Riffer, they've won this competition so many times over. They are always up here in the top 3 positions. So Iceman will know what can work with them. They will begin to adapt. They'll begin to go around what they need to. Surely a switch will be coming. And he's gonna do the same thing he did to Replicant. He is going to mirror match. We are Dr. Coiling in this. No! Anytime Iceman goes for the mirror ditto pick, he always seems to win. Can Adol find a way through? Unfortunately, going to get caught by the Ice Dragon in the early stages, and the Chiller as well. Iceman going full on ice setup. Very much living to their name, and Adol is going to have to tweak up their playstyle. Something wicked here if they want to find a way of pulling out the upset. Gets the tag with the Tri-Blast. That's exactly what they need. But Iceman is not going to relent with this icicle pressure anytime soon. They want to be able to show you all why he is indeed the strongest. And that is going to be another successful freeze. The Tri-Blast will hit, but look at all of the damage already done on the side of Adol. Iceman has a decent health lead, but cannot afford to be pinned down by these Tri-Blasts. The Dragons excel so much at range, but again, crucially, to go up close and personal with them, that Chiller can still double on up because of Coil's charge up ability. Another wayward punch. The Dragons are going to get shut down, and Adol needs to keep them at harm's bay. But again, the Chiller is just so quick. It keeps catching Adol by surprise, who finds themselves in critical condition. Does get a toaster hit. Tries to go for the grab. It's not going to happen. And Iceman is going to get the KO. Iceman looking to tie this up anytime Iceman goes for the mirror, goes for the ditto pick. He always seems to win. It's such a harsh flex, but it is what it is. And again, catches Adol with another series of freezes, as Mr. Adol just cannot find a way of combating against a character that Iceman is bringing to the table. It's just not working out for them. And a full-on toaster volley for Adol is also not working either. Putting away the Tri-Blast is just getting completely pinned down by every Chiller and Dragon imaginable. And that is going to be a... well, no, it's not going to be a perfect. It's going to be a straight-up counter rush. Good glide, good recovery from Adol. Gets themselves damage on the board, so it won't be a perfect. But again, the grab is going to yoink it for them anyway. And it's a 2-0 on the other side of the field. And Iceman... Why is Iceman gotta do this? Why does he have to always do this? Loses the first game to Replicant. Switches to Lola to match Replicant. Wins the next 2 games. Loses the first game to Coil against Mr. Addle. Ditto picks Coil. Wins the first game. In convincing fashion. Well, what can Addle do? Will they stick with the Coil or will they switch it to Brass? And, well, will Iceman switch? I don't think Iceman will switch. There's no way Iceman will switch again. DNA Lab will be the pick. Addle switches to Mechanica. Well, this is a choice and a half. Okay. The Toaster and the Tri-Blast comes up for Mechanica. Pink Mechanica, by the way, which is the best Mechanica. As Iceman sticks with the Coil. So I think Addle, realizing what happened in the previous match, thinks a character switch will be helpful. But Iceman again has the Thunderbird at their disposal. Does get tagged by the Tri-Blast. And Addle again, you see Mechanica able to just drift around on the ground. Keep that charge going as long as they can. But again, falls foul to another wayward chilled hit. Again, just dancing around the tubes for the time being, trying to find a way of catching Coil out, and a good rush charge up, 270 damage. It puts Mr. Addle in the health lead for the time being, but again, this is Coil you're going up against. They will charge it up incredibly quick, but a wayward Toaster hit catches Iceman off guard, and Mechanica is proving to be one hell of a response here. The Tri-Blast is also going to hit, tries to go for the wake-up grab, doesn't quite get it. But Iceman, with 42 seconds left on the clock, is seeing themselves in critical condition. Can't quite hit the Thunderbird. Pretty much a Toaster charge will KO them. Maybe even the Tri-Blast might do so as well. And time is ticking away from them. The chiller hit will happen, and finally the grab comes up for Iceman. Brings that deficit down just a little bit, and Addle says, no, screw this, I'm rushing. Gives Coil the rush advantage for the next point, but crucially for Mr. Addle, it's set point. Iceman brings the Ice Dragon and the Chiller. They switched it up from the previous matchup, now they bring it back. And Addle is the first one to land the damage with the Tri-Blast. Remember, the rush does go on the side of Iceman, and the grab is going to come out, send Addle downfield. And Addle knows full well what that rush can do. The Dragons are incredibly dangerous at that rush potential. They're up there with the missiles in that regard. And again, Iceman goes for the bait and switch. Knew full well that Addle would likely try and counter a grab attempt. And quickly punishes with the rest of the rush. Mr. Addle into, well, pretty much into critical. Gets caught by the freeze, gets the knockdown. Iceman has such a massive health lead that if you're Mr. Addle, you just keep the rush for the next point. But having said that, Iceman has already charged it straight back on up, so it's going to be a full-on stalemate by the time we get there. And unfortunately, that KO was always going to come, so one apiece in the set, one apiece in the game. Winner takes all. Can Mr. Addle book their ticket in the top 3 for the first time ever? Or can Iceman deny them and make it the top 3 lockout as it usually ends up being? Both with rush set and ready to go. It's just all about who is going to blink first. Mr. Addle bides their time, lets the Dragon just go away and goes for the rush and gets it. They are the first ones to hit. Doesn't quite get the final hit though. 280 is still not bad, but the grab is going to come out and quickly reset things back into Coil's favor. And I think Addle knows they just cannot jump away from that Dragon Beam long enough. That is going to be another knockdown for Iceman. And again, Mechanica just jumps up, leaves the ground. No chance of shielding. And Iceman is going to pin Adel into this corner as best they can. That is the KO. It will be a top 3 lockout from the top 3 players once again. And Iceman does it again. It's 2-1. Well, now we get ourselves ready for the top 3, as is usually the case. There'll be Replicant going up against Iceman in our Underground final matchup. I'll get that set and ready for you in just a moment. It'll be best of 5s from here on out. And this will determine the PR points that will be delivered at the end of this entire session, which, by the way, that does come to a close at the end of today's tournament. The PR season will be done and dusted. We will have a brand new season coming up soon, and obviously we will post up the top 10 over on our social media at European_arms when all of the points have been tallied on up. It will be Iceman to go up against the Replicant when they are set and ready to go. We saw them do battle earlier today. Replicant was able to take Iceman out by 2 points to 1. And again, whilst the seeding says that Replicant is the higher seed, seeded second over Iceman, seeded third, Iceman has the most amount of wins, has the most amount of finale appearances, has the most amount of top 3 appearances over Replicant. Replicant has only won this cup 3 times. The last time they won this cup was the 54th installment. For Iceman, it was 4 cups ago. So you get the general idea. Like, recency bias tells you that Iceman is the better of the, well, quote-unquote better of the 2, but Replicant is not going to be sitting anywhere around that. Bearing in mind that performance in the Vortex Gallery last time out will tell you the Replicant has a lot of momentum on their side, which is why you see that seeded seesawing between the 2 of them. But we are pretty much set and ready to go. I am just going to make sure that I'm not the one in charge. No, I'm not in the one in charge. That's good. It looks like it's going to be a Buster Beach that will start us on off. And Iceman will be bringing in Springman. And so, away we go for Buster Beach, our first game of the entire set. Iceman on the left hand side of your screen with the Chiller and the Parasol. Meanwhile, for Replicant, the Nade and the Coolerang. See what they could do in this position. The Nade is going to get not 1 but 2 explosions in the early stages. And immediately begins to fire on back through the path, but this is Iceman we're talking about. One of those hits will eventually land, and that is exactly what they do. Iceman has been pretty much going back and forth with a lot of different fighters today. Goes for the rush early on, but is not going to get any dice on that one. And the Nade is going to preemptively catch them off guard as it drifts on over to the right hand side. Good call from Replicant. Quickly drops on off that Parasol. And now begins to try and keep Iceman down in the hot pocket area. In fact, this might be the first appearance of Buster Beach on the stream today. With the arm weak and broken on the right hand side, Iceman unfortunately could not take full advantage of that and has to deal with 380 damage from that rush. As a result, Chiller and Power Soul is not going to land anything anytime soon. The nade will explode just about onto the ankles of Iceman. And another solid nade explosion will keep Iceman out of contention. The Power Soul again just whizzes on by, shoving into the corner, but nothing that Springman could really do about this exchange as Replicant takes the initiative in this matchup. So we go into match number 2 between these two. Apologies about that. Microphone unfortunately losing itself there a little bit. I guess that's what happens when you have a few hype matches. Something has to go wrong. It's been a while since we've had a technical issue, but we're good. We got it back. And Replicant just about hanging on in there. Very nearly having that point, getting it completely taken away from Iceman in the latter stages there. Really starting to rile on up with the Springman, but crucially, Replicant able to hang on in there by the skin of the teeth again. A very close matchup once again between these two, but again, you kind of expect it from these two. That's just what they do on a regular basis as we head on over to Ninja College. Iceman's going to switch up the Springman into Min Min. Coming in with the Sparky and the Ice Dragon. Sparky on the Dragon Arm. Not to be confused with the Dragon Arm. And Iceman likes to do that every now and then. You don't really put the Dragon on the Dragon Arm. It just doesn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things. Replicant with the Nade and the Coolerang. Trying to keep the height advantage for the time being. But unfortunately, it's going to fall foul to that big old Sparky. It's always a dangerous glove to go up against, especially when it is on that perma-buffed arm. But thankfully, Replicant is going to get the knockdown. They're going to have to fight from underneath at this stage, but they won't mind that too much. They're pretty much tied up level with Iceman. But they get themselves a nice flurry in with the Coolerang and a good wayward hit with that nade. The nade is always a very powerful tool in the best of times. I mean, yes, it doesn't have a guided system. It is literally all manual aim as opposed to all the other gloves in this game. And Replica try to go for the rush, but doesn't get any of it. And Iceman gets every single bit of theirs, 365 damage. Puts Replicant into critical, puts Replicant into shock. And it sends Replicant up the stairs and into a KO. Really good grab, really good combination from Iceman in the early stages. Takes the initiative of our second game, but can they convert this into a 1-1 set scoreline? Remember, the last time these two met was earlier today. It was a 2-1 in the best of 3 that went to Replicant in the end, despite Iceman's Ditto shenanigans. Replicant will be doing everything they can to try and find a way back out of this, to not allow Iceman to tie this best of 5 set up. Especially in the early stages, it's not the amount of pressure you really want to be having. Again, some really good little tags here and there from both of them, but crucially, they've not been paying up for much. Iceman goes for the shield, thought about potentially blocking on up, figured the rush should be coming, but instead, no, Replicant gets them with the grab. Really good reaction times, and actually does hit the rush this time round as well. 345 damage, sweeps Iceman into the corner, puts himself into critical. It does allow them time to get the Sparky hit charged up, but crucially, there was nothing Iceman could do from down there. Tried to jump on up, ran into the Hydra, and it ties this game right back on up. The hottest of slaps coming out from Iceman now. Going to drop that dragon completely. Replicant pretty much had a successful read on it, and is not going to allow Iceman to get another chance at this. So it maintains the high ground for the time being. Sparky back on up on that dragon arm. The hot slap using to try and just poke on in through there, trying to curve around and catch Replicant off guard, and the rush will come out, but it'll be chip damage and nothing more than that. Both arms weak at the very least for them, and a good old Sparky hit, but crucially Iceman was too far away to be able to take advantage of that, and Replicant breathes a slight sigh of relief, hits in with the Hydra. Again, just follows on in with that Coolerang every single time, just in case the Hydra can't make it. Tries to dash on in for the rush, but again, it'll be chip damage for them as well. So even Stevens in that regard. 45 seconds on the clock. Iceman inside themselves pinned into the corner for the time being. Does have rush potentially set and ready to go. But again, just buying their time, trying to get that Sparky up. Does get the Sparky up. Crucially, the Coolerang did not make it to them in time. And with 30 seconds left on the clock. Oh, they do lose the disarm. They're caught on the back foot again. Replicant does have rush set and ready to go, but crucially is going to take damage. 345. It puts Replicant on the cusp of critical. Iceman has the health lead and immediately backs on out of there. Replicant knows they have to go on the charge, and that Sparky is going to hit and punish. 10 seconds on the clock. It looks like that is pretty much going to be it. Replicant, actually no, I don't think it isn't. Replicant gets a whole ton of damage. If they could get any kind of hit, that would be great, but it's not going to happen. The KO comes on the dot. And Iceman is going to tie this set up. What a piece. Big time clutch there from Iceman, and it's going to tie this set up instantly. And Replicant is going to see that advantage gone and gone. And, well, knowing these two, how close they are consistently at each other, would not surprise me if this goes all the way. Well, I mean, whatever happens, it's not the Rift for Replicant scoreline that we saw from earlier, which was a full-on 3-0. Whatever happens, we get a game 4, but which way will it go? Replicant is set and ready for it. Iceman just figuring out what they want to be pulling out when we go to Via Dolce. However, whichever way you pronounce it, it is time to enter Lollipop's home territory. That nade in the back pocket alongside that Coolerang and the Hydra per usual. And it's going to be the Hydra and the Coolerang that comes out. Iceman with that Sparky again, the hot slap on the right hand side. Quickly backs on up, gets the charge up. There's nothing Replicant can really do about it because of the way the stage is laid out. You pretty much have to dash into the center and then to the side in order to be able to get an arm off, and that's just not happening in this matchup, especially when Iceman doubles on back. There's just nothing you can do. So Iceman essentially starts with a free charge up, The arm is weak on the left hand side already. Replicant putting in a lot of pressure. Does take the first point of damage. Quickly returns the favor at least. And Iceman is having to play this incredibly carefully at this point. Dude does get knocked down. But again, anything you can do, I can do just as well. Goes for the rush. And it's not going to get anything. Quickly realizes there's no point trying to reapply that pressure this time around. And the rush comes out from Replicant. And the tornado sweeps on around, 350 damage, bonus 20 just as they go on that knockdown. And that flings the advantage back to Replicant for the time being. 40 seconds on the clock, sends Iceman into critical with a nice good old hit. Grab is going to be denied though. And Iceman, again, begins to try and become that wall. Try to keep Replicant in this corner. Not where you want to be. It's very easy to get pinned in on this stage. And Replicant just being a bouncy target at this point, being as hard to hit as possible. Iceman may have the rush, but again, they just can't get the consistent hit in. And all Replicant needed was one wayward hit to take Iceman back on down. So, 1-1 in the set, 1-0 in the matchup so far. Can Replicant keep this going? Both will have rush set and ready to go, and somehow Replicant doesn't get caught by that spark. He honestly thought they were going to. But not this time around, and Replicant's just waiting for an opportunity where Iceman is fully committed. We won't be seeing that mistake coming out from Iceman anytime soon. Gets the nade hit, but crucially, Iceman gets a sparky hit straight back at them. Replicant went really close and personal. Is actually going to go for it. Has completely pinned Iceman into the corner, 285 damage. And we'll see if they can keep them there. The answer is, well, not really. Iceman does get a sparky hit, but can't really do anything else other than that. And as long as Iceman stays this far away from Replicant, Rep has a chance of being able to get that rush back before Iceman could do anything. Iceman tried to sense an opportunity to keep Replicant pinned in on the other side, but it did not work out for them in the slightest. And Replicant, being such a fiend at this point, not allowing Iceman to get away with this, gets caught by the nade on the back foot, and Replicant has rush ready to go. Once again, 25 seconds left on the clock. Iceman has to do something, goes for the rush, gets the rush. Will this be a KO with the dragon? Not quite, 355 damage, but that was what Iceman needed. Now, does Replicant roll the dice and try to shut this down? The answer is yes, because they've got Iceman into critical. This could be absolutely devastating. Rush will come out. It'll be chip damage, nothing more than that. Quickly bounces away. They realize they've got this. The arm is down, and it's a KO with 1 second to go. Iceman tried to get something out of that, but it did not work for them. Replicant leads by 2 points to 1. Losers final is heating up big time, and Iceman suddenly finds themselves in a 2-1 predicament. Unlike what happened in winners semi-finals, the set is not over at 2-1. It is a best of 5. It is the first to win 3 points that will see themselves into grand final, where they will take on the Revolutionary Riffer. But this is Iceman we're talking about. Iceman always seems to find a way of coming back from the death. And who knows? Who knows how this will play out at this stage? Iceman brings in the Ribbon Girl. Replicant naturally will always stick with the Lola. And so, back to Temple Grounds. Both will have a nade at their disposal. The Seiki is there for Iceman if they want to bring it out. In fact, they are going to bring it out. Full-on explosion. What a nice, lovely side of thunder. As that Seiki does explode into such a big old electrical shock, and Iceman need to be careful not to get caught by that themselves. Otherwise, they will suffer the same consequences as their opponent. Replicant, meanwhile, Burchard, Hydra. Hydra will hopefully try and keep Ribbon Girl grounded as best as they can. But knowing full well that Iceman has to win 2 games on the bounce. I know it, and that's what I mean! And that is exactly what I mean! Iceman does get the knockdown of Replicant, but crucially got shocked themselves. They will not want to take too many more of those in this matchup. First of the pillars goes on down. I think we've lost 2 of them already. And that is going to be the rush coming out for Iceman. But no dice this time around. The Seeker can do big tie damage. And does 200 damage. Replicant let their shield down at the last second there as they did the first evade. Give Iceman a chance to get themselves back in. But the rush will come out from Replicant. And nothing else from that chip damage. And Replicant quickly and wisely bails out of that attempt. Keeps the health lead for the time being. But... well, anything can happen in this matchup. There's still 30 seconds left on the clock. Another 1-2 combination from Replicant from afar. And a big old electrical surge. That's the last thing that Iceman needs right now. Finally gets the nade hit. Does some decent amount of damage. But with 15 seconds left on the clock. If Replicant can keep this up, they may get away with this. But Iceman is bringing it back. Which is not what you want to see. But again, another Wayward Hydra hit. Does Iceman try and roll the dice? Well, another Wayward Birdchuck. And the Hydra hit will surely seal it now. Nothing that Iceman can do. It's another 0-second KO. We've had 2 of those and a 1-second KO between these two in the same set. These two never know when to calm down. But crucially, for Replicant, they start with the rush. And they have 2 set points to their name. And that was not the start Iceman wanted. They've pretty much put that Seeky away. It did not work for them in the slightest in that round. And now they bring out the Tri-Blast, full on, pure, explosive goodness. Goes for the rush. But it's going to be chip damage and nothing more than that. Both arms weak as a result from that onslaught. But it's also charged Replicant's rush right back on up. And another knockdown for Replicant. Unfortunately, Rep is going to dash into another nade explosion. So Iceman keeps themselves alive. But that rush is hot and it's live. And Iceman into the corner. Not where you want to be as Ribbon Girl. You kind of want to start sliding on out of there, which is exactly what you see Iceman do. The rush is hard to hit on a very agile character like Ribbon Girl at the best of times. But that is exactly what Replicant needed. 290 damage. They just looking for one more hit and Iceman will be out of here. And Replicant wisely bouncing on around and gets a hell of a timed grab. That is a grab worthy of winning any final. Caught Ribbon Girl completely by surprise. And Replicant sees off the challenge of Iceman. 3 points to 1. And Riffa, your prediction was inaccurate. You said 3-2 and you can't say anything other than that. You will now be going up against Replicant in the grand final of the 80th installment of the EU Arms Challenge Cup. And so then, it comes to this once more. This is pretty much how it was in the Vortex Gallery. And it is exactly how it's going to be here in the 80th Challenge Cup as well. Riffa to go up against Replicant. So, I'd ask who your money is on, but again, you look at the stats and you just wince. But having said that, Iceman has won this 14 times and is not making it into the grand final, so if anybody can do it, Replicant can. But if the winner's final match that we saw earlier is anything to go by, it's going to be a very, very hard set to win. It was a 3-0 wipe for Riffa in the end against Replicant earlier today. So Replicant is now going to have to not only somehow get revenge for that and win the first set, but then they'll have to do it again. Remember, at this stage, it is still double elimination tournament rules. Replicant has already taken a loss, losing to Riffa in the previous set in winner's bracket. Riffa has yet to concede a single set. So if Replicant wins, that will be Riffa's first loss, and we will do it all over again. For Riffa, they just need to beat Replicant in one set. It's as simple as that. And I use the word simple in a very sarcastic manner. Grand Finals of the 80th installment of the EU Arms Challenge Cup is live. Lollipop for Replicant on the left-hand side of your screen. It will be the Hydra and the Lockjaw going up against Riffa as Masango on the right-hand side of your screen, coming in with the Cracker and the Coolerang on Temple Grounds. Here we go. This should be a very entertaining matchup, and who is going to take the first point of damage? It was Replicant, who immediately retaliated with a hit of their own. And they are not sitting around anytime soon. They want to be able to win this for the 4th ever time if they could do so. They haven't won it in quite some time, whereas Riffa, well, it really is a question of when did Riffa not win one of these, let alone end up not outside of the top 3. You have to go a very long way back for that entire thing, and Riffa, knowing full well that rush, unfortunately, is going to catch them off guard. A lot of damage in the early stages. It does have rush of their own, but so far, Replicant starting the significantly stronger of the two, but this is Riffa we're talking about. Red Mask is fully equipped. And notice the fact that Replicant bringing out that all-fiery loadout, that Hydra and the Lockjaw, trying to make sure that that Red Mask gets shut down at any and all points. Again, only if it's charged up. And that grab from Riffa gonna send Replicant past the halfway mark. Both now with rush set and ready to go. And Replicant is dangerously close to being caught off the back foot, because that's another successful hit from Riffa. What was a massive health lead for Replicant is now a health lead on the other side of the field. Riffa has control. And the second Riffa builds up momentum and consistent hits like that, it can sometimes be nigh on impossible to stop him. And just like that, Riffa takes that initial point and immediately starts with the first point of damage and goes for the rush. But at least that time round, it'll be 75 damage. And thankfully, for Replicant, nothing more than that. But not the start that our wonderful little Lollipop would have wanted at this stage of the competition. Blue Mask is up. Pillar does save Riffa. Tries to get a little bit of, tries to be a little bit cheeky there, but takes 110 damage at the end of it all. Put the Blue Mask straight back on up, but immediately falls foul of a wayward roaster hit. And that, again, just like with the nade, is full on manual guidance. No computer ease with that whatsoever. But again, Riffa pinning Replicant into the corner, trying to keep them there. Replicant, very bouncy fiend, and Lula does not want to sit around and wait too long for that. Quickly bounces that themselves back over to the center stage and keeps themselves at bay. Riffa just about underneath Replicant at the time being, but a hit like that will quickly tie things up, and a rush exchange will definitely go in their favor if Riffa decides to bolt for it. That popper is such a dangerous tool. Yes, the Lockjaw is there, it's a heavy arm, but Riffa knows full well that that is a full-on commitment for Replicant. Nothing that they could have done about that. And that gives Riffa all of the impetus they need to punish every bit of that. 15 seconds left on the clock. Replicant has rush, and they have to make something out of this. Otherwise, Riffa will take the first point in this set. Does get a roaster hit. That's exactly what they needed. Rush comes out, but it'll be chip damage and nothing more than that. And Riffa just bides their time. Nothing Replicant can do. And Riffa is going to make that 4 games in a row against Replicant. 3-0 in winners final. 1-0 as it stands in grands. Replicant trying to fight for their 4th ever cup win. Their first since the 54th installment. Riffa is looking to just line up their wardrobe even more. A 28th win is what they're fighting for. And honestly, are we surprised to hear those kind of words? Replicant will come into Mausoleum for matchup number 2. The Parabola is sitting on there in the first loadout, so they're going to have a plan here. Combine it with the Roaster or the Hydra. It'll be the Hydra. And this is going to be a very interesting matchup, but unfortunately that's not the start. Every match so far, Replicant has not had the best of starts, has consistently been the first one to be hit. And that grab is no exception to the rule. Riffa finally does get tagged a couple times and sent back on into the wall. But crucially for Replicant, they're still in this matchup. Still fighting strong. The Powerballer will at least balance out some of the hits. The Riffa is sending their way. But again, that yellow mask is up. That'll get themselves rushed, set and ready to go. Replicant has it as well. But they have to land a charged hit with either the Powerballer or the Hydra to disarm that arm in its entirety. And there it goes. The mask is out of there. But can they take advantage of it? It doesn't look like they'll be able to. They're flinging on the pressure, and Riffa has taken a lot of damage. But crucially, Replicant waits for them to go for the yellow mask equip, and then disarms them, and then gets the rush. 235 damage. Nicely done. Looking for one more hit. It's not landed just... Sam. Get out of here, kitty. I do apologize for that. Replicant is going to take the initial point and immediately gets swept on up by Riffa, who bided their time, immediately went for that wake-up rush. And that is going to be some great points on the side of Riffa in the early stages. Does concede that initial point in the end to Replicant, but starting off significantly stronger. Finally, the mask does go down, and Riffa is going to lose out a little bit there, but I mean, the health lead is already there. So much damage in the first 30 seconds for Riffa. And they're looking to try and tie this game up almost immediately. Replicant is going to fire on with the rush, though. Big time damage, 385, and just like that, it is back down to a level playing field. Riffa now with rush on hand and ready to go, and in fact goes for it, catches Replicant off guard, 305 damage. And just like that, how quickly it seems to turn between these two individuals. They are doing everything possible in this grand final, and the Powerball has been doing a ton of work in this matchup. But Riffa is just buying their time now. Again, just rotating through the mask, trying to find themselves an opportune moment. Consistently flinging in with chip damage. Replicant does have rush, but cannot do anything with it for the time of asking. One apiece in the game, but not only does Replicant have the rush back, Riffa isn't going to be too far away from getting it back themselves. Powerballer comes back out again with that roaster. Riffa immediately shields, expecting Replicant to maybe throw out a wayward rush, but it does not happen. And look what mask Riffa decided to bring on in. Will that be an arm break? No, it is not. But the trampoline gets damaged in the process. That arm is very much weak on the left-hand side, but Replicant cannot keep the pressure up. It's going to fade away. No further advantage from Replicant with that. It was a wise decision for Riffa to drop that shield initially and just get themselves into a better position. And suddenly, they can now dictate the pace of this entire match. And that is 315. Make that 335 damage from that entire exchange. The red mask goes up as well. And this is looking absolutely terrible for Replicant. It's a KO. It is now 2-0 in Grand Finals. And Riffa is looking to just seal this cup up with no problems at all. Replicant has it all to do. They lost 3-0 against Riffa earlier today. And they are already 2-0 down. Riffa could win this without conceding. In fact, I was going to say without conceding a set. The only game they conceded was against Mr. Adel back in the semi-finals. Replicant has not taken a game off of them here today so far. And it would be a full-on shutout if Riffa can manage it. The Cracker and the Coolrang again comes back on out. Arm weak on the left-hand side, but it don't matter because Riffa gets the grab on Replicant, keeps the pressure off of them, gets another chain into another knockdown, and again, it's just Riffa just continues to go at max speed. They're just not slowing down. They know an opportunity when they see one, and Replicant finally does get a ping through with the Powerball, gets the grab, and sends Riffa to the halfway mark. And again, another successful Powerballer shot. That could be a KO. Not quite. Tucked behind the pillar. But boy, how did that quickly change. Riffa is one hit away from going down already. Having to be very careful with that Hydra and the Parabola. Red Mask comes up because they know they have to go all guns blazing. Rush will come out. Will it hit? Yes, it will. And Riffa went from being another point down again to now having not one, but 2 championship points. Riffa getting knocked down in the first batch of the next session. And again, another wayward Hydra hit does keep Riffa off guard. And that Parabola is still a scary umbrella. So you just watch it ping on out, and then the wide girth of that umbrella just keeping Riffa at bay. And so far, Replicant just biding their time, getting the odd tag here and there. It's certainly starting to add up, but that chip damage on the right-hand side will start to catch Replicant out if they're not too careful. Rush will come out. Will they score? Yes, they will score. 360 damage. Riffa into critical. And Riffa has not got a single bit of damage. Now they have. No sooner have I said that. There's the Coolerang hit. There's Replicant almost pinned into the corner. And that could have been devastating for our friendly local Lollapop. But again, another solid Parabola hit. Riffa knows full well this patch is pretty much done. And it's 1 apiece. Replicant finally starting to find that second win, but will it be too little, too late? This will be the second championship point for Riffa. For Replicant, they need to win this to keep this set alive. Yellow Mask done and equipped. Replicant has Rush set and ready to go, but as long as that mask is up, Riffa will be able to dictate who goes first. He will certainly get the better advantage of the two. Again, another solid hit with the Cracker. The Coolerang rings on around the arm weak on the right-hand side. It begins to give Riffa that kind of momentum. And again, another Cracker hit pins Lola down, trying to keep them in the corner, but got a little too aggressive. And finally, knocked on down. Replicant might sense an opportunity to try and go for something here. Again, Riffa just can't quite get the mask on. Now they'll be able to get the mask on. They were waiting for it, biding their time. Allowed Replicant to get back up. But crucially, the mask is up. The health lead is still Riffa's, but Replicant is chipping away at this. But also, crucially, they're running out of time. Replicant has to get a move on here as Riffa takes the central platform, that slightly higher elevation. Parabola just whizzes on by, and again, another successful rundown with that Cracker. The rush is going to come, and the rush is going to hit. Shield and chip damage for the remainder, and Replicant cannot afford to take a single point of damage at this stage, and Riffa knows that they have this in the bag. Blue mask up, immediately dequipped, and the red mask not quite able to make it, but the Powerball, oh, got the shock, but Replicant couldn't punish. They couldn't punish. Riffa broke out almost immediately, and that will be that. Replicant has lost 6 games to Riffa today. 3-0 in the winners final, 3-0 in the grand final. Riffa wins his 28th EU Arms Challenge Cup, and the 80th competition goes his way. There's just no stopping him. He is back on the throne. And with that, that is the 80th installment done and dusted.